Welcome to Everyone Loves Guitar, where we sit down and talk with interesting professional guitar players, uncover their stories, and discover what makes them tick. If you love guitar, music, and the backstory of people's lives, stick around. You're in the right place. Hi, this is Craig. Just want to let you know you can now advertise here on Everyone Loves Guitar podcast. For more information, go to everyonelovesguitar.com/advertise. That's everyonelovesguitar.com/advertise. Hey, everybody. This is Craig Garber from Everyone Loves Guitar. And I'm just hysterical laughing, and I'm probably not going to maintain myself because I'm with Paul Pigat, and he is not only honestly one of my favorite guitar players, he's literally hilarious. And I can't even look at him right now because if I do, I will just lose all professionalism and cry like a seventh grader. So first of all, I just want to tell you, if you haven't heard of Paul, go to YouTube and there's 3 videos you can look up, and he's just a beautiful player, and he's really, really super talented. Check out this song called Brody, B-R-O-D-Y. And Paul spells his name. It's Paul Pigat, Paul, P-I-G-A-T. He's Canadian. That's the one thing, but, get over that, and then, you accept him as a player. The second thing is he's got a great song on there called Spanish Banks. And then there's a really cool Gretsch 130th anniversary I guess, was it an event?
Yeah, we did it at Rudys in Soho.
Man, it's really Soho in New York? No, Soho.
Yeah.
Really? There's a Rudys Jazz Club in Nashville. I didn't know there was a Rudys in Manhattan. I have to check.
That's in Rudys music store.
Oh, Rudy. Yeah, the guitar player. Yeah, the guitar maker. Okay, cool. Yeah, that is great. Okay, so check out Brody, Spanish Banks, and the Gretsch 130th anniversary. And then what's really funny, there's a guy listed as you. Did you see that video?
Oh yeah, he's got my name embroidered on his shirt.
And it's it's someone else. It's like a guy maybe old enough to be your dad.
Yeah,
it's hilarious, and the text underneath is all in Spanish. So I guess I don't know if they thought it was just hilarious. But anyway, let me tell you about Paul. He started playing guitar at 11, and he was gigging steadily in downtown Toronto by the time he was 12. And through a lifetime dedication to playing, recording, and study, he's really developed into a brilliant guitarist, vocalist, and songwriter. And worst comes to worst, he will do comedy at the end of the night just to collect tips. He's an extremely versatile artist, got projects ranging from Delta blues to classic music. He heads 4 different Vancouver bands, and he's also a very highly in demand sideman. He's recorded with Neko Case, Carolyn Mark, Michael Kaeshammer, and I'm going to mess this one up, man. Can you say it? Ndidi
Onukwulu.
Yeah, thanks, man. Ndidi Yes. Sorry, Ndidi. Artists who he's performed with include Jim Byrnes, the Blind Boys of Alabama, Big Sandy, and Aaron Neville, as well as the Sojourners. He's played domestic and international performance venues ranging from small clubs to large stadiums and festivals of all genres. He's also on his way out to China in another week for a couple of weeks. His central touring project is his rocking hillbilly trio called Cousin Harley, considered to be Canada's premier rockabilly and roots band. And you can check out his website also at paulpigat.com. He's got some great stuff on there from Cousin Harley. They've got a reputation for delivering everything from blistering rockabilly to foot stomping vintage country and western swing. And they've got 6 CDs so far. Paul's well known for mixing bebop, jazz, honky-tonk, and pure 50s rock and roll, and his Cousin Harley style is deeply rooted in the playing of Les Paul, Charlie Christian, and Link Wray, which definitely Link Wray. His other current projects include the Paul Pigat Trio, which is bebop jazz, and Pigby, which is an acoustic swing jazz duo with Paul Rigby. Get it? Both called Paul Pigat and Paul Rigby, Pigby. They hired a marketing company to come up with that. And he also has produced a series of best-selling guitar instructional DVDs distributed in the Learn Roots music series. And he's a really popular instructor at guitar camps each year. And I also just found out that he gives lessons. So if you're into rockabilly or Western swing, man, look this guy up and book a lesson with him. He's really amazing. Man, thank you so much for coming on the show. If we make it this whole way without cracking up, honestly, man, it'll be a fucking small miracle.
I'm going to do my best to break you up at one point. I'm not sure what I'm going to do yet, but I'll make it out.
But in all seriousness, thank you for coming on the show, man. I really appreciate your time, and I really love your playing. So, 12, gigging at 12. My question was, is this a Canadian thing? Because Red, same thing. He was like gigging at 12 out in clubs.
Well, with Red, it would have been the 70s, but it was the 80s. You could get away with a lot of stuff in the 80s because, I grew up in Toronto, and Toronto was surprisingly puritanical. Like, clubs were closed at midnight or something like that. You couldn't buy booze on Sundays and stuff like that. But yet, for some reason, we had never had a problem playing. But we were also, I was a big guy for that time, at 12, 13 years old.
You mean physically tall?
Yeah, I was physically big. And I think they just really didn't care.
Wow.
Yeah, and honestly, we weren't very good, but we brought a lot of people out because my brother and all of his friends would come out and they were all of age and they were yahoos and drinking their face off, and that's all the bar ever cares about.
Selling booze, yeah.
So we sold booze, so that was happy. Everybody was happy.
Your folks were cool with that. I mean, they I would imagine they had to take you to the gigs or something.
No, I went myself. No, they were
really.
Fine. Yeah, my family was sort of in turmoil at the time, so I was kind of left up to my own devices at that time in my life. Yeah. So I was pretty independent at that point, and I'd jump on the bus with my super reverb, and a Telecaster, and I'd take the bus to the gig, and I don't remember how I ever got home, but somehow I got home.
That's very cool, man. Yeah, in States, like when you gig when you're that young, you got to bring your parents because they can't let you in a bar without alcohol place that serves alcohol without your parents. Oh yeah, there's no way this would be allowed now. Oh, okay. And there's no way that you could ever get away with what we got away with back then. Very cool, man. You also setting up one time. We set up one time. So we set up in the afternoon, and we mucking about. We had the whole bar to ourselves, and I soon discovered that the bar taps had been left on. So wow. Needless to say, it was a pretty sloppy gig that day. So you guys all got hammered drinking as much beer as you could drink. Yeah, in the middle of the afternoon, and then tried to sleep it off and play a show. Yeah. You're really well versed in a lot of different styles, but it seems like rockabilly and country are kind of like your primary calling card. And I was curious how you got influenced by those two styles of music. And also, what does Link Ray play? It's rockabilly, but it's like kind of punk. You do a lot of punk rockabilly stuff, sort of, no? Yeah, well, I think I've always thought that rockabilly is punk. It is the original form of punk rock. Yeah. So, I got into. I guess my brother gave me my first Robert Gordon record back when I was probably 9 or 10. He said, "You got to listen to this," and I forget who the guitar player was. It might have been Chris Spedding on that record, and I always loved that. But when I started playing around Toronto, and when I was 13, we played a lot of country music because that's what was going on. That's how you made your money, is playing country. And I got into, I got really into Albert Lee, and I really got really into Danny Gatton, and that was the time of there was not only rock guitar heroes, there was lots of country guitar heroes like Steve Wariner and so Vince Gill was just breaking through at the time, and country was hot, and I was a metalhead at the time, but I found myself playing in bars, playing country music, and I just sort of really got drawn into it, and I kind of thought it just sort of all amalgamated. When I moved out west, in my 20s, that's when I've been playing a little bit of rockabilly in Toronto, and a lot of the bands that I would go see were rockabilly bands, but I wasn't really doing it. But when I moved out west, I started playing a lot of swing music, and I discovered this rockabilly scene, this rockabilly and western swing scene that was happening on the West Coast that wasn't nearly as strong as being in Toronto, and I just fell in love with it. I fell in love with the energy of it, and then and I was playing in a lot of punk bands, so it just kind of all smashed together. I'm a magpie when it comes to music. I'll take anything and throw it into something else. So that's kind of
took a little bit of bebop, took a little bit of Western swing, took a little bit of rockabilly, took a little bit of punk rock, and blah. There you go.
What made you do that? That's not like what most guys do. Most like guys, they like one thing and that's what they play. I think it takes a combination of being super open-minded and, probably a good amount of curiosity to want to do that.
Yeah, I always say that I get bored really easy. And I've played a lot of different gigs. Like I've played everything from gigs like Wolf Carter yodeling to like, I have a degree in classical composition. So, I've written atonal music. So, and I'm not a purist by any means. I've never been a purist. I've never been interested in replicating something exactly the way it was done before, because why would I want to do that?
Yeah.
That was my problem when I was in university is, I go, hey, I'd rather write music than replicate something else. Like, I certainly don't want to play a Hank Williams song the way Hank Williams did it, because I'm not going to do it any better than Hank Williams. So why would I even try? I might as well make it unique. Huh. So that's when I started smashing things together.
I'm surprised you went to university. That's another unusual thing when you're that talented when you're young. What prompted you to go? Because usually it's like, well, I'm, what do I need to go for? I'm doing what I want to do, what the guys in university want to do.
But I wasn't really that. I wasn't that good. Well, I won't say I wasn't that good, but I wasn't where I wanted to be musically, and that's really what it's always been about. It's always been about the pursuit of music. So, I wanted to understand why things worked.
Okay.
That's really important to me. Not just like, oh, well, this sounds good. I need to know why it sounds good. Because if I understand why it sounds good, then I can build on it. And, I needed to just expand, I think. And it's funny that I chose to go for a classical music degree when really, if I look back at it, it probably would have been better if I went for a jazz degree, but I didn't know enough about jazz music then. But I have a very different interpretation of jazz music now because I approach it from more of a classical concept. So,
do you like classical music?
I like 20th century classical music, and I like Baroque classical music. Yes.
Okay.
I'm not a big fan of what you would consider the classical era or the Romantic era.
Sure.
But I do like early classical music, and I think Stravinsky is the beginning of everything in the 20th century. So
it's funny because I interviewed I don't know if you ever heard of a band called Helmet.
Oh yeah.
So I interviewed Paige Hamilton.
Oh yeah.
And all he talked about was classical music, and I'm like, like the words and the music. You know what I'm saying? It was like, wait a minute. Yeah. I said, he talked about how, at his funeral, he wants, Beethoven's 7th Symphony, 2nd movement played. And he just spent time over in Germany looking at like Bach or somebody's grave and I was like, wait a minute, you run Helmet. Fucking connect these dots for me, please. Cause I'm like lost here, and it was,
it's all music.
Yeah.
And I hate to say it, people say music is math, and it is math, but to a certain extent.
Sure.
But there's a beautiful symmetry to it, right? And if you can see the symmetry in almost anything, right?
Yeah, that's interesting that you're a fan of classical. I know rockabilly fans at times, and maybe you've not seen this on your gigs because you're so laid back. Rockabilly fans can get a little crazy, and I was curious if you had any cool stories of some weirder shit that you might have seen, or, like rock and roll stories without naming names.
Well, I think the rockabilly scene has changed a lot. I think it's a lot more subdued than it used to be.
Oh, really?
Like I remember doing gigs and there'd be, we'd be playing these little pubs on Vancouver Island and like all the tattooed rockabillys had come up from the mid island. And, by the end of the night, they'd be dancing on the tables, kicking drinks all over the place. And needless to say, we would never be asked back. It was. I think it's more like when rockabilly was more punk. I think that's when you would see that. Like we used to have. I had a punk band. I was in a punk band called the Metronome Cowboys.
Right. Tell this story. This is good.
And this is and we would do shows like our I believe this was possibly our Aloha from Outer Space show. Where we did everything was themed in outer space, and of course we had a distinctly Elvis vibe to us, but we were a punk band. And I played steel guitar, and we would bring our own chicken wire fence to the gig.
Nice.
in that band, I was Cousin Harley, and my job was to swear at the audience and get them all riled up, and play, and occasionally play steel guitar. And usually by 3/4 of the way through the set, we'd have them so pissed off and freaking out, and that they would just start chucking all their beer at us. And not just the liquid, the glasses and stuff. So that's why we had the chicken wire
fence.
And we'd be covered in glass, and just and I was the only stationary person because I was stuck behind the steel guitar.
Yeah.
So I was a good target. So I just put my head down. I had glasses on. I put my head down with my cowboy hat, and I just get showered with shards of beer bottles. And,
holy crap!
And still, to this day, one of the funnest bands I've ever been in.
Unreal. Was Cousin Harley like an alternative personality for you?
Yeah, because when I moved out west, it also I really started to become a frontman when I moved out west in '94. Because up until then, I'd always been a sideman.
When you say out west, just so the listeners, he's talking about out west in Canada.
Yeah,
we're so myopic in the States. We always feel like, even though I said you're from Canada, it's like, oh, California. That's just how we think.
It's just California, the north, right?
Right.
Just California with moose.
Everything.
It's California with moose.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, when I came out to, and I moved straight to Vancouver Island. I didn't even, I didn't even bother going to Vancouver. I wanted to get off the road. I just didn't want to do that anymore. I just wanted to live somewhere where I could just play music and not have to travel. When I did that, sorry, I've lost my train of thought. We were talking about brain fried.
Toenails.
Sorry?
No.
Oh, alter ego, right. So when I moved out west, I started up the swing band, which was the Smoking Jackets. And, that was at the beginning of the swing revival. And that band worked a lot. In fact, I played with them last weekend. We've been doing reunions.
Very cool.
Yeah, it's a really fun band. And we packed the joint last week on Vancouver Island. And
so you went. How far is that from where you live now?
It's about 3 hours with an hour and a half ferry ride.
And you're in Vancouver now.
Yeah.
So, wow. So that's it's really way out there.
Yeah. Well, it's the island's about the size of England, I do believe. But yeah, it's, I think as the crow flies, it's probably not very far. It's probably 40 kilometers, but you got to take an hour and a half ferry there. But I had the Smoking Jackets. I was doing that, and I was doing solo shows. And when Cousin Harley started, I wanted it to be something different. I didn't want people to think that they were going to see the Smoking Jackets, because I was getting pretty well known in the town. And I didn't want to think that they were going to see my solo show. I wanted it to be something different. So Carolyn Mark, who was a girl that I worked with in the Fixins, and she was also in the Metronome Cowboys, gave me the name Cousin Harley, and I just said, well, that'll work, and that's what it was.
So it was your opportunity to basically differentiate that aspect of your music from the other things that you were known for.
Yeah.
Do you think was that something that you were able to, because it wasn't you, it was Cousin Harley? Was that ever an opportunity to get out of character and do stuff because I've talked to a lot of musicians, and a lot of guys are kind of bashful, and they have the stage persona that is not, they're more outgoing and whatever, but it's not them, sort of.
No, I don't think it was ever a character for me. I was extraordinarily shy as a kid, but no, I never really thought of it as a character. It was just a music.
Just a music thing, yeah.
Differentiate between the music, yeah.
When did you stop getting shy? What was the transition?
I have no idea, but I'm not shy anymore.
No.
It takes a lot for me to feel uncomfortable now, and especially on a stage. That's where I feel most comfortable now, is on a stage. If you put me at a party where I don't know anybody, I will be a wallflower. You will not see me speak to anybody. You put me on a stage with a guitar, and I will take control of the room.
Awesome, man. That's awesome, man. That's really good to hear. I think it takes that would take a lot. Being alone at a party, yeah, that's tough. Not knowing anybody. If your spouse or girlfriend or partner, whatever the hell is there, alone, that's a tough thing, man. But yeah, that's awesome, man. I could see you.
And I have lots of friends that you could drop them in the middle of a situation that they would know and nobody, and that they would have nothing in common with them. And by the end of the night, they would have 50 new friends. I know lots of really outgoing people that do that. I am not that person.
Yeah, but you do what you do on stage, man, and you do it brilliantly. So,
oh.
Hey, what were some of the low points or like maybe the more challenging times of your career, and how did you sort of get through them and like fight off any of the negative shit that was going on in your head during that time?
I think that happens weekly. No, there's definitely been some low points. Like, there was a while there. A lot of them have to do with not necessarily music, but just personal life and stuff like that. But, I lived on someone's couch for 9 months.
Wow.
That was tough. And I was delivering pizzas, when this is again after I've moved across the country, and I had been used to playing all the time, and I couldn't get the work that I needed. I remember another time. I remember when I turned 30. It was just before I turned 30, and I curled up in a ball on the couch, and I just did not want to go to this gig that I was doing because I was playing anything. Like, you got a gig, whatever the gig is, I'll play it. Doesn't matter. I don't care if I like this music. I don't care anything. I was taking every gig under the sun, and I was working tons, and I just really didn't want to go. I did not want to go to the gig, and I had a moment then, and I said, you know what? I'm only going to take gigs that I enjoy. Mm. Doesn't matter if the music is necessarily my thing or not, but I have to enjoy doing it. And that really changed everything, because I don't really take too many gigs anymore that I don't enjoy.
That's a great thing that I've learned actually from musicians, because most guys that play, they want, they're doing something they want to do. And most guys have had that moment in their career where they said, shit, I'm not doing this again. I need to play what I want to play. And it's actually rubbed off on me. I've learned a lot from interviewing all you guys, because I think that, I think that's a much healthier way to approach life, to be honest with you. Like, fuck, you only got one spin.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody's got to do something once in a while to earn, to pay the bills. But by and large, there's enough choices out there that you can be happy. You should put your happiness in the front of that thing.
Well, I've always said, and this is something I've said for a very long time, is that I don't make enough money not to have a good time.
Yeah.
It's not like I'm a miserable lawyer or doctor who's going, well, I hate my day job, but I go home to my $1.5 million mansion and drive my Beamer home. I don't get to do that. So I better have a good time with whatever I'm doing. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's a healthy, whether you're making money or not, I think that's just a healthier way to approach life. Because let's face it, man, if you're happy, you're going to be less of a dick to other people, right? I mean, that's just seriously. I mean, depends how much you've drank. But no, seriously. I mean, a lot of people that are miserable, you ever run across these people that just fucking everything sucks for them. They're miserable with this, and generally their life is pretty good if you look at it on the outside, but they're just miserable fucking people, and so they treat everybody miserably. But like, if they were happy, which they're like seeming to, like, a lot of them are allergic to being happy, but don't you think like you'd be a lot nicer? Mm-hmm. And life is like so much easier when you're nicer, just in general, it's like, it just seems to have a lot less stress brought on yourself, Yeah,
so I don't like being around negativity, I will admit, because I've been incredibly negative in the past. I've dealt with, I've had, as I think most musicians have dealt with, some form of depression over the years. I've dealt with that.
Yeah.
And, I'm still, I will deal with it for the rest of my life. So I just don't like being around negativity, because it spins and it infects everything around it. So if someone's negative and they're around you, eventually it'll rub off on you, and then it'll rub off on somebody else. Yeah. And it just spirals everything, and it's a drag.
It's totally a drag. And I'm like actually allergic to it, and I like won't go near I just won't engage. I won't be rude and confrontational, but we're done. I'm not interested. I haven't even watched the news in about 35 years for that reason. I don't want to process any of that,
No. And American news, man, it's super negative.
Oh, it's totally negative. I guess I literally have not. The only time I watched the news broadcast was when 9/11. I watched a couple just because I was like, so like, oh my God. But I haven't watched the news in 35 years. It's just, I don't want to hear it. And like, it makes me very ignorant, but I'm okay with that. I'm at peace with my ignorance, because I'm like not hearing about, just negative shit,
Yeah, well, you're not being subjected to the fear mongering that basically what news is now.
Yeah.
It's not information anymore. It's opinion and fear mongering. So
It's just
we're getting deep. Hold on, I got to take off my socks.
we're
Wait, here you go. Here you go. Oh,
that's
there
it.
it is. Oh.
Good Lord, if I spilled the beans on that. Oh, I deserve this, I'm sure. Man, where did you grew up in Toronto, you said, right?
Yeah.
What was your childhood like? Oh, you don't have, wait a minute, I can just tell. Let me just rephrase this. How twisted was your childhood?
My childhood was pretty twisted. I was super introverted. Like I really did not interact with other people. I was a complete and utter loner, I think. And I kind of came out of my shell when I started playing guitar. I think that was really important for me. Because, I played sports, but I never really identified as part of a team. I wasn't friends with people that were on my team and stuff like that. And I think when I started playing guitar, it allowed me, it gave me a security blanket to start talking to people.
That's great. I've heard that also a lot. And it's being a loner is very conducive to being a successful guitar player.
Oh yeah, you need to be fine with spending hours by yourself.
It's interesting. So, well, that's cool. You said you had a brother. Is that a lot? Any other brothers and sisters? Or
I just got one brother. He's 9 years older than me, and it was his record collection. Because there was no music in my house. My mother and I have had many conversations. She's actually here visiting. She lives in Mexico.
That's wild.
Yeah. She lives in the Yucatan now. But she got all pissed off at me a few years ago because I did an interview for some magazine, and I said there was no music in my house, and she, yes, there was. There was music in our house. What do you mean? I had a Zamfir record.
So is your mom going to listen to this interview?
Oh, probably.
Oh my God, that's scary.
Got a sense of humor. Well, no, my mother had. I remember the two records my mother had. My mother had an Eddie Arnold record, which is probably one reason why I like country music. And she had the Zamfir record. However, my brother had this big record collection. He had tons of classic rock, tons of blues, tons of punk. There was, of course, Rockabilly in the collection, weird avant-garde, synth music. Like I used to listen to Klaus Schultz.
That's wild.
I used to love that. So when he let me sort of start roaming around his record collection, that was a big deal. And I remember the first record he ever gave me was a 45, and I couldn't have been more than, I must have been in like grade 4 or 5, maybe no, I must have been grade 2 or 3. And I brought it in for show and tell, and it was the Monkees.
Oh yeah,
Daydream Believer.
Great song.
Yeah, great song. I believe the flip side was I'm Not Your Stepping Stone, which is
another great song. Yeah,
great. That's as punk rock as the Monkees ever got, man. That's a really great
that was like psychedelic. That I'm Not Your Stepping Stone. That was pretty far out there. Yeah,
psychedelic.
Yeah, very much.
So that, but then I had another record that was called Kooky Country. That we would consider this to be my record, and it had it had Please Mr. Custard on it. It had, of course, Hot Rod Lincoln on it. It had You Can't Roller Skate in the Buffalo Herd.
Don't know that one. No.
Oh my God! How could you not know? May the Bird of Paradise Fly Up Your Nose. These are classics.
I'm from the Bronx. They didn't even allow that in where I live.
It was all novelty songs, all country novelty songs from the 40s and 50s. And looking back on it now, I go, well, that's obviously there's the problem.
Yeah, that's it. That started this. They planted the bad fruit.
Yeah, totally. And then when I wasn't listening to that, I'd be listening to Ozzy or early Iron Maiden, or Mountain or something like that.
Oh, Mountain, great band.
Yeah, Leslie West, awesome.
You know what? This is another like useless information story that I'm full of. My oldest son was born, he's 28. I had a box, like a jam, a radio with tape, cassette tape and like a boom box, but a little one. And I made a tape of songs that I said, I wanted all these songs were like cool songs that if he was born during them, I would be psyched up. So I took the tape in And when and I had this music, I'm like, hurry, the song ends in 2 fucking minutes. No, he was born to mountain.
Let me rewind it. Just hold it in. This song is going to be fine. That's awesome.
It was theme for an imaginary Western. That was the song he was born to. I love that song, Yeah, for Leslie West. And every time it's on the radio now, if we're together, which, he's older now, we're not. But so if he hears it, he'll text it to me. And if I hear it, I'll text it to him. And it's like our little thing for from the mountain song, because that was what he was born to. So yeah. I always I like that. And
my wife would kill me if I did that.
Really? You're a musician. Well,
it was because I only have one, right? My girl's 3 years old, so and I am 49, right?
You're smart.
Really late.
You're smart.
And it took it was 2 days she was induced for 2 days.
Oh my God!
And it was epic.
Wow.
By the end of it, it was like
that's really that's a long pregnancy. Wow.
Yeah. She was a week late, so they induced, and that went on for 48 hours, and it just went on and on and on and on. And in the end, we still had to do a C-section in the end. So
was she cursing you out?
Not a lot of lightness going on at the time.
That's too bad, man. Was she cursing you out in the room? Was it one of those stereotypical things like?
No, she was good, but she was exhausted.
2 days. Poor lady. That's tough, man. What kind of jobs did your parents have? And also your brother, is he a musician?
No, I'm the only musician in the family. My father worked for Sunbeam Appliances. He was an immigrant. He moved to Canada from Italy.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, he moved here. Pigat. Yeah, it's northern.
Oh, that's actually an Italian name.
Yeah, it's northern.
I didn't realize that. Okay.
My father's from a little town called Ezzano Decimo. And then he moved from Ezzano. He was there during the war and moved down to Bari and Taranto area, and then immigrated from the south to Canada. He worked at Sunbeam all my life.
Cool.
My mother was a homemaker, and then when they divorced, she ended up working at York University, doing clerical work there. And now they're both retired. They're both still alive.
That's great.
But yeah, it's always very, very much. I come from a very much a blue collar kind of background, and we grew up. There's many little enclaves of Italian in Toronto. Ours was right beside what you would consider to be the worst area of Toronto.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I basically lived just on the edge of the barrio. So, it was a rough place. You needed to either be good with your fists or know how to run.
Yeah, man, I hear that. Well, you were a big guy, you said, so I'm sure that helped.
Yeah, and my brother was a bit of a badass, so I was able to ride on his reputation a fair amount, and I got out of a lot of really tricky situations.
Just saying, hey, I'm going to tell my brother, and so he had some street cred, so it was like,
yes, well, him and his whole crew had street cred.
Oh, that's awesome.
They're all derelicts, bunch of derelicts.
Hey, got to leverage that when you can,
Oh yeah, you got to use what you can.
Talk about, if you can, tuition. Like, everybody pays tuition and makes mistakes. And I was curious if you could maybe share one or two mistakes you made earlier on in your career and the lessons you learned from them.
Yeah, well, that's a good question. I make mistakes daily.
Who doesn't, man? I know.
I don't know. Yeah, I know nothing about business. There's a mistake right there. I know nothing about how this industry actually works. I know how to play the guitar. I know how to entertain people, but the business side of it, I've never been very good at. So that's one thing I would say to anybody that was doing this now is, learn. I've had management, and management has been very, very helpful for me. But you need to know how to do this stuff yourself as well, because then you know how to steer your management company. Yeah. Another thing, I'll tell you what, here's one thing you don't do. You don't release your first record with Cousin Harley and move to China the next week, only to find out that, you're getting reviews around the world that this is the best rockabilly record of the year, and you're living in China.
Wow. What? Yeah. So you didn't think about, you didn't think that would be an issue.
Well, I had my head in other places.
Yeah, I hear you.
Wasn't. I was following something that I needed to follow at the time, and I just gave up something that I probably shouldn't have.
Well, I hear you.
But in the end,
it all works out. It always works out in the end, man.
No, it's probably not a good idea to cut off a toe. That's probably a bad thing to do.
Yeah.
There's lots of bad things you can do. So,
Hey, how about the flip side? Was there things you did that were kind of out of your comfort zone at the time, but hindsight 2020, they worked out really well? Well, they turned out to be good moves.
Let's see. Yeah, well, I think never letting your fears or anything get the better of you. And if you're given an opportunity, regardless of how terrified you are of that opportunity, you always got to go for it. I think that's important. If it's an opportunity that you think will lead you to somewhere that you want to go, like probably one of the best things I ever did was I did the DVDs. Man, that's got to be almost 15, 20 years ago now. And people were, they sold way better than we ever thought they were. A friend of mine just started the company by himself, and he had a bunch of different guys doing lessons, and my 3 DVDs outsold the entire catalog. And a bunch of guys who were Gretsch guys wanted to meet me, and they found out that I was going to go play Viva, which I'd never played Viva before, and I haven't played Viva since.
What is Viva? Sorry.
Las Vegas. That's the world's biggest rockabilly festival.
Okay.
I went down to Viva, and these guys wanted to meet, and they were all part of this Gretsch discussion group. And they said, then Gretsch has a booth there. You gotta meet us there. And I said, sure, I'll go meet him there. And then they wanted me to meet Joe Carducci, who's like the head of A&R Gretsch at the time. And he asked me if I would use their gear, use their guitar for my show. And I wasn't going to say yes, actually, originally the first guy, because I had one of my old Gibsons with me. I was more than happy to play my own guitar, but I didn't like the amps they had on stage. So, and Gretsch had just made that series of amplifiers with Victoria Amplification Company. So I said, okay, I'll use your guitar if I can use your amp.
Sure.
And, that was just on a whim. And like, I'm playing a big show. This is the biggest show I had done outside of Canada. My first time playing a really big rockabilly festival. And, playing someone else's guitar and amplifier is not the best way to feel comfortable. But I did. And, at the end of the show, Joe came up to me and asked me for my address and sent me that entire rig.
Holy shit. How cool is that?
Yeah, it was great. And then the next morning we had a meeting, and I loved playing it. It was awesome. And it was like playing a Ferrari. It was like everything was so fast and intense with these instruments. And the next morning, we had breakfast, and he asked me to do a bunch of clinics. I've been doing clinics for them ever since. So
wow.
That was just, on a whim that I said, yeah, I'll play your guitars. What the hell, and you never know what any opportunity is going to bring you. So
I'll tell you, as a guy from the outside coming in to this whole thing from the business perspective, I have never seen an industry more where opportunities come to you by just accepting opportunities. Mm-hmm. If you're talented.
Yeah.
I mean, it blows my mind how, it's a very small world, and, it's almost like the universe automatically gives you a reward, maybe not the same day, but something good always comes from like doing something. And it's a really nice thing to see.
Yeah, absolutely. You never know. Like I said, you never know what that door is going to do. Like to go back a few minutes when you asked me about things that I probably should have done. When I was in the University of Toronto, I studied with a guy named Ellie Kastner, who's still alive. He's got to be in his mid-90s now. And Ellie studied with Segovia.
Oh, wow.
And, I had great education. Like, man, that guy taught me how to play guitar. That guy taught me how to study guitar. And I told you that I'm really into 20th century classical music. So my favorite guitar composer is Leo Brouwer, who's a Cuban composer. And when I was graduating university, he said, Paul, it's what are you going to do now? And I said, I don't know what I'm going to do. And he says, well, how about this? How about I call Leo up and you go live with Leo?
Holy shit.
And I said no. And I really wish I hadn't. That was a big mistake. But then what would I be like now?
Yeah, no, you don't. No, you don't. That's the whole thing with this, like when, and I'm guilty of it with some of these questions, like what, because I'm not like that in my own life. Like I never go back and think, well, I should have done this and that. I mean, I do once in a while, but up until a certain point, because like you just said, you might be dead.
Yeah, I might be dead. I might be, I might be in the academia, which, maybe I'd be happy in the academia. I don't know. I don't think I would be though. Yeah. I'd probably be a lot better off financially, if I was in the academia, but yeah. I don't think that really matters too much to me. Yeah. I have everything I want. I have nice shoes. I have shoes that don't have holes in them. I have a ton of guitars. So these are things that make me happy.
Cool, man. What advice would you have given your younger self if you had an opportunity, assuming you were open to listening to it?
Don't smoke so much weed.
Don't smoke so much weed. Yeah. Was weed like a big thing in Canada?
Yeah. For me, it was. Yeah. I was a major pothead for many, many years, which, I think there was some good parts to it. I think I certainly explored music in a certain way that maybe I would explore in other ways, but I wasn't overly driven. Like I'm probably more driven now than I ever was.
I don't think you could. How could you be overly driven smoking a lot of weed? I mean, that's not possible. It's not possible.
You're just like, hey man, cool. Yeah, man, it's awesome. Cool. Yeah. Right. Which is fun. Don't get me wrong. And I don't think there's anything wrong with smoking.
No, I don't think so either.
And all in moderation. I was not about moderation. I was definitely, from morning till night.
Yeah. I spoke to a lot of guys who've done that, and it's. Yeah, I don't even know how like you function, to be honest, because like I'll take a hit and like I'm watching a movie and I'm like 20 minutes into it I'm like I don't know any of these fucking characters. I don't know what they're doing. What's this movie? And I feel like at that point I'm like fuck, I just got ripped off. I just lost 20 minutes of my life.
Why is Godzilla in Notting Hill?
Yeah. Is this a comedy? Is this, is this Netflix? Is this like pay-per-view? I mean, it's seriously, it's like, and I don't like being like that, So I couldn't imagine like baking all day. I would just, curl up in a ball and die.
That's all I did. But when I finally decided I had to become a singer, because that's what I needed to do when I moved out. When I moved out to this part of the country, I wasn't getting any work, and I thought, well, I have to make my own work. And I decided I had to become a singer, and then I stood in front of an audience a couple of times. And going, I can't talk to these people, man. I'm just too high,
too paranoid, too, right?
Well, I never got paranoid. I just got. It's like I don't know what to say to these people. I just counted the song, and I just thought this is not entertaining. I'm not being entertaining. As a guitar player, just on the side, then, whatever, it didn't matter. But as a frontman, I thought, I have to engage with these people in some way. Even if I don't talk a lot to them,
you have to put out energy.
Yeah, you have to put out energy.
You have to be a transference of energy to have a successful gig.
Yeah, that was the turning point for me.
Good for you, man.
That was the musical side of it.
Sure. There were turning points as well. Good for you, man. It's funny. I saw a gig. I saw Bush, the band Bush.
Yeah.
And I had never seen them in concert. And God, I'm having a brain fart now. Who's the primary songwriter? Anyway, I have never seen anybody ever in any concert put out more energy than him. It was just phenomenal. I mean, he literally ran around the stadium. I mean, it was one of the greatest shows I've ever seen simply because, and even I saw REO Speedwagon and Kevin Cronin, the lead singer, when it makes a huge, I didn't realize, because I guess I've seen loads of concerts, but these guys were like really great frontmen, and it makes a huge difference, man.
Yeah. Like I've seen so many shows, and those are the ones that stick in your head.
Yeah,
are the great frontmen shows. Yeah. Like I think the first one I ever saw was I don't know if you know this band. There used to be a band called Jason and the Scorchers.
Yeah, I know them. Sure.
Yeah. So like I saw
Jason in the 80s or late 80s, maybe. Yeah.
That was getting a cowpunk, right?
Yeah.
And I saw them at the Horseshoe Tavern in Toronto, and man, it was like, yeah, that's what it's supposed to be. Because it was, first of all, the music I loved. I loved this early cowpunk stuff, and the energy was fantastic. And he connected with the audience. He made you feel like you were sitting on a porch with him.
Yeah, that is so cool.
I love that connection. There's a blues guy from Calgary named Tim Williams. He's just does solo blues stuff now. And he's an American. I think he's originally from California. And I saw him play very early on when I came out west, and it was just him doing a solo show. And then sometimes I'll tell this little story when I'm doing a solo show now. Is that he had me completely enraptured. Like I was watching his show and I just was like he had my attention 100%. And then I realized that he had been talking his set for so long that he probably played 4 songs.
But he was that engaging and that interesting.
The audience that
that's fantastic.
Yeah, that's the way you do it. You get there, you connect with them, right?
Yeah.
I love doing it. It's funny. I used to be very standoffish when I would do solo shows, and I was known to be a bit of a mumbler. And now, I love doing them. I love being a goofball, and really just connecting with people.
Dude, I'd love to see you in live. That would be so awesome. Get your ass down here. Do we let Canadians in here even anymore?
It's expensive. You guys can come on over anytime you want, but us, we got to pay some serious dollars to come down there.
Yeah, man. Hey, you got your own Gretsch signature guitar which came out of that whole thing, I'm assuming, correct?
There it is, right behind.
It's gorgeous, man. Yeah. Grab your guitar, man. Can you? I don't want to look at that thing. Sorry to make you get up off your easy chair there.
Yeah, I'm relaxed. I'm pretty relaxed. So
oh wow, that's thin. I thought it was a big, thick.
Yeah, no.
Oh wow.
All right. So the deal with this guitar is I was hanging out with Steven Stern, who's their master builder, at an event at Rocky Street Sound in Brooklyn, and because that's where they do a big event there every year.
Were you living it down there? Because you spent
Gretsch would fly me down to do events like that.
Because a ton of people in Brooklyn.
I do. Well, because I've spent a lot of time in Brooklyn doing these events.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. So I was talking to Steven about this, and I said, and like when I get into I know a lot about guitars, man. It's stupid how much I know about
Dude,
guitars.
I saw you restore that old Gibson. That was like beautiful what you did with it on
ES-140.
Oh, that was you did a great job. I mean, that was really impressive.
Thanks, man. I did a bunch of guitars this year. I did an old Silvertone. I made it into a KF beat. I'm doing a 34 L50, and I just got given I think a mid-60s Guild F30 acoustic, which is the Mississippi John Hurt model. So, and its back has been destroyed, so I'm going to try and fix that next.
And you just like doing it because that's you like tinkering around. That's cool, man.
And I don't restore them like a proper.
No, but you're doing what you want to do. Again, that's really important.
I just make them play again. That's all.
That was gorgeous what you did with that guitar. I mean, honestly, that was, it was. I think the first time I spoke to you, we were talking. This guy said, "Are you a luthier?" Because I'm like, "Holy shit, you got all." He was like, they had the guts of the guitar out, and you're like, no, I'm just because I was like, oh, okay.
I'm just a tinkerer.
Anyway, tell me about your guitar. It's beautiful.
So I was talking to Steven about Gretsch's, and I said, there's one model that Gretsch hasn't made that they haven't reissued that they really should. And he said, what? And I said, it should be the 62 Country Club. And he says, well, why? We got country clubs. I said, no. The 62 is different. The 62 is a thin body country club. I said, because I have a lot of problems with tendonitis, and I like big guitars, but tendonitis and big guitars don't really like each other.
Sure.
So just as we're talking, because people would bring in Gretches to their events because show them off and whatnot. 2 guys brought in 62 Country Clubs, and I showed them. I said, "Check this out." And I went over the guitar with Steven. He's their master builder, and I'm showing him every feature of this guitar. I said, "This is the bomb for if you're looking for a big box guitar, but that's ergonomic to play." I said, "The 62 Country Club is one of the best guitars you can get." And so we're talking about it. He's looking it over, and I'm showing him how all the things, all this stuff, all the little details on it. And at the end of the day, he just says, "You know what, Paul, we should make something together." And I said, "I'd love to," because, I obviously know a lot about guitars, and he was digging what I was saying. He says, "Yeah, well," and I said, "Well, let's make a country club. Let's make a 62 Country Club." He says, "Yeah, we could do that. but why don't we just design something together that's specifically yours? Wow. So I said, okay. And, you know, it took months to do it. I wanted every piece of the guitar to be Gretsch, but I didn't want it to be like any other Gretsch. So what this guitar is it's a 17-inch country club body, but instead of being I believe the 62 country club is 2 1/4 inches deep. This one is 1 3/4. So it's more.
It's even thinner.
Yeah.
Is that hollow or semi-hollow?
Yeah, it's totally hollow. I said I don't want a center block. I don't want a tone post. I just want 2 parallel bars so that if I want the guitar to feed back, it'll feed back. I said I want a 9.5-inch radius on the neck.
Look at the mother of those inlays are freaking gorgeous, man. They're really big and chunky.
Yeah, they're like the inlays from the 53 Jet.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and the headstock is from a 48 Synchromatic. And the aesthetic of the guitar, I said, you know, my favorite pictures of a Gretsch, everybody's got their favorite pictures of a Gretsch. You know, a lot of guys go with the Eddie Cochran stuff or the Brian Setzer stuff. I said, my favorite picture of a Gretsch is when Django Reinhardt came to North America and he's borrowing Frank Volpe's guitar. I said, that's the one, right? That's the Synchromatic with the cat's eyes and the tortoiseshell binding. I said, that's the guitar. So, you know, we went through all the different elements of that guitar and we took, of course, the cat's eyes and the tortoise binding, and I believe the block inlays were also on that guitar. So
let me just explain to the listener. You say the cat's eyes, you mean the quote F holes?
Yeah, the F holes.
Yeah. So they look like an eyebrow sort of shape. Yeah, like an eyebrow. Yeah, very cool. What is that black thing? Yeah, this is the stair step bridge from the Synchromatic of the late 40s. So what does that do? It's just a place rest your hand.
Yeah, it's just like the foot of an archtop bridge. It's just you know, it's got an Art Deco design. And then Tom, we had these knobs, even though they look like Gretsch knobs, but they have no emblem on them. So he made them custom for the guitar.
Is that just a regular? Is it just each one has a volume and a tone?
This is different. So Gretsch's are notorious for weird setups. So I did a slightly different setup. The way this one is the knob on the cutaway is the master volume.
Oh, could you hold that up just a little bit? I'm sorry.
So that's the master.
Okay, so the master volume is right under the cutaway.
Yeah, and then I have two tone knobs. So this is the tone knob for the lead pickup, and this is the tone knob for the rhythm pickup.
Why didn't they put them? Wow, that's weird. Why didn't they put them?
I like to do tone swells.
Okay, and you're using your lead pickup for that most of the time.
Yeah, I use my lead pickup for tone swells, so I wanted the tone knob right there.
Gotcha, man. That would be confusing for me to.
Yeah, it's not. You got to get used to it.
Mind you, it's not hard to confuse me, but that would be particularly hard.
But it's kind of like the reverse of. Actually, you know what? It's funny because it's funny that I would do this is that, it's kind of the reverse of an ES350 because my first real Cousin Harley guitar after I stopped using the Silvertone was a 1949 ES350, and a 1949 ES350 has a master tone here in volume.
Oh, okay.
And it's almost in exactly the same layout.
That's a beauty.
This is just the way I like a guitar. And then Tom from TV Jones. This is the third set of pickups that Tom's given me for this guitar. Second set. The first set of pickups that we put on this guitar was a Dynasonic in the rhythm and a Filtertron in a Dynasonic mount so that it looks the same in the lead. And that was a great setup, but it was a little more rockin' than I wanted. And so I said, Tom, I like just a really dark, woofy single coil. So he made me a set of P90s that are in Dynasonic mounts. So they look like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, Dynasonic, are those humbuckers or what are they?
No, they're a single coil. They're a real super high fidelity single coil. They're a fantastic pickup.
What do they sound like?
They're chimey. Okay. Really chimey, but with a lot of low end and authority. Like think of a Telecaster pickup on steroids.
Okay.
Yeah, gotcha. That's kind of what Dynasonic is.
That's a beautiful guitar, man. What does it come in multiple colors or?
Well, it only comes in this one only guitar. This is it. This is the only one that's been made.
They didn't make a line of them.
No, they didn't. We did this. This is a one-off. This is like Steven made this himself for me.
Wow, that's a gore. I don't know why they didn't.
We keep talking about it. We keep talking about it.
Okay, everybody, I don't want you to send an email into Gretsch at this minute before anything else comes up. No, I'm just. That's really.
No, you can.
Go ahead. Send an email to Gretsch and say, hey, you want the Paul Pigat model? Seriously, it's gorgeous, man. It's. Let me just describe it. It's like, what is that? It's wood, but what color is that? Is there a color to that? It's like.
Well, it's got a spruce top, but it's ambered, so it's like antiqued spruce top.
Yeah, right. That's I couldn't think. It's antiqued. It's very nice and slim. The back is quilted. It's gorgeous. It's like quilted blonde. The inlays are big block. They're really pretty. Is that a couch strap?
This strap?
Yeah, is that couch?
This is a Gretsch strap they gave me, and I really like it. It's kind of like a 60s hippie strap.
Dude, let me show you this.
It's super comfortable.
Hang on a sec. It looks like this. This is my couch. It's very. That's why I thought it was a couch strap. It looks, very similar to this.
Is that an Ace?
Is that a what?
Is that an Ace strap?
Ace?
Ace. That's the company.
No. Couch is the name of it.
Oh, Couch is the name. Oh,
yeah, Couch. No. Couch is the name of it, and that's why I thought it was. And they have these. They have a whole line of them. They're really cool, and I wanted something 60s looking as well, so I got this one. And that's why it looks like the same. That's a really nice strap from a guitar.
They brought out a whole series of these. I got a strap to end all straps a little while ago. I was over at a friend of mine's shop, and we pulled out an old guitar case. It had an old 125.
Now we sound like a couple of women, right? I got a strap to end all straps a while ago.
Well, we opened this case, and this case hasn't been opened since probably 1974. And in the case is this orange and white hippie strap.
Wow.
And all patterned and just the most god awful ugly hippie strap. And it's perfect. Its back is all in denim. It's like someone made this. This is like someone's little project. And he gave it to me, and I love this strap. And every time I use it, like I use it with my handmade Telecaster, someone always comes up and says, "Where did you get that strap?"
That's really cool. Yeah, straps are. I like cool looking straps. Not like big. I just like cool. Like this is not a big strap. It's just a kind of plainish, but I just like the pattern. It looks cool.
Yeah, I like a funky strap. I used to always be, I was the rockabilly guy for so many years, where I had to have the little thin strap with the shoulder pad.
Yeah.
And those are really freaking uncomfortable.
Yeah, they are.
I just want a plain old strap that that feels good and that's got a little style.
And it's rare that you get a strap looking like that from a guitar company, because they're usually kind of like boring. Also, like
Yeah, I know.
That one's really cool.
I was doing a session. I was doing another one of their roundups. Like they were doing a roundup in Southern Ontario, and they were giving them away. And I said, Joe, these straps are awesome. He says, great. How many do you want? I said, give me 4 of them.
Awesome. Very cool, man.
Tons of guitars around here.
Well, let's talk about your gear for a minute. No, I want to ask you a question about metal thumb picks first, and then we'll talk about your gear. How long have you been playing with a metal thumb pick? Is that something you've always done?
I don't use a metal thumb pick. I use a plastic.
Plastic one. Okay. How long have you been doing that?
I started with thumb picks I'd say probably 12 years ago.
What made you do that, and how long did it take you to switch over?
So I was at that time. I'm a really lazy guy.
Oh man, you bullshit! All you guys. I'm really lazy. You have the fucking work ethic of a plow mule. I mean, come on.
Work ethic, yes, but when it comes to carrying gear, forget that. Okay,
but that's lazy at stuff that is immaterial and like irrelevant. Who the hell wants to carry gear?
Exactly. Well, when back in those days, I would always play. Cousin Harley would always, we'd have, it was just a trio. It's still just a trio. But I also play 8-string non-pedal steel guitar. So I would always have my steel guitar with me, and I would swap over, in the middle of songs. And I tried to, I'm a finger picker because I have a classical music degree. So I would always get the sound I wanted on my fingers, but I'd have to abandon the pick when I was playing steel guitar. And I just never was happy. So I decided I started playing steel guitar with a thumb pick. And then, trying to switch over in the middle of a song, drop your flat pick, put it on a thumb pick, and then play steel guitar when you're just a trio and you don't really, you have that long before you've got to jump in with the steel. I just decided that I would give up the flat pick and I would start playing with the thumb pick. So what I did is, at first, is I would shave the thumb picks down really, really short.
What did that do for you?
Well, you can get a lot more control, and it feels a lot more like a flat pick.
Okay, so this was like transitionary.
Yeah, and I still shave them. I still shape them. I shape them a bit better because a lot of people use thumb picks, don't do upstrokes. I do alternate picking at full tempo with a thumb pick. And you have to reshape them because they're not shaped for that. They're
weird shape. They're actually weird shaped. I mean, like who would? They're so look like you have to almost shave them. They look useless otherwise. They're gigantic.
Well, they're meant to be played like dobros.
Yeah, yeah.
If you put a dobro in your lap, you put it on a thumb pick, you go, oh, that's why it's shaped like that.
Yeah, but not a guitar.
No, not a guitar. No. So you shape them. So I shaped them, and it took me.
Do you have one handy?
Yeah, somewhere.
I'd be curious to see what that looks like.
Oh, there's one. There's one in my pocket. Let's see. There's one. Let's see if this was a good one. Oh, that's a brand new one. So that one hasn't been shaped yet. Let me see. There's got to be one that I've shaped somewhere around here.
I'm just. If you don't have one, I'm just curious how.
There you go.
Okay, so
this is unshaped.
Yeah.
Unshaped. This is unshaped. So you can see how I'm taking a bit of the tip off.
Yeah, not very much. Yeah.
No, when I started, this was half as short.
Oh, okay, that makes sense now.
Really tiny. This was like to there.
Okay.
All this would be gone. And then as you get better and better with them, you can leave them longer and longer. And now, if they're too short, I can't play them anymore. I'm probably better off playing an unshaped pick than I would be playing a short pick.
Gotcha.
But it's that's a good way to transition in.
Yeah.
And also your technique. Most people attack the string on an angle.
Yes. With a flat pick.
Yeah, with a flat pick.
Yeah.
So you're always sort of you're like that against the string. You need to go like that. You need to be at 90 degrees. And then you can really achieve the speed you're looking for with a thumb pick. If you try and attack it with an angle, I've never been able to do it. But once I took my wrist and I flattened my wrist out, that instantly changed everything. So, if you're playing with a thumb pick, you're never going to probably, sling your guitar as low as Jimmy Page.
Yeah, yeah.
Got to have it up a little higher to really get the right angle. But yeah, anything you do with a flat pick, you can do with a thumb pick.
Let me ask you this: the other way, huh?
Except for pick squeals.
Except for picks, yeah. Is that hard to do?
That's hard to do.
So, I was talking to. Do you happen to know someone called Guy King? He's a blues guitarist out of Chicago.
Mm-mm.
He plays only with his thumb.
Yeah, yeah.
And I haven't been playing guitar a long time. I've been playing about 3 years, and I always love playing with my fingers, but you can't. I'm not as, you don't have as dexterity and you can't certainly, alternate pick and stuff like that. But I was talking to him and I said, man, along this lines of doing what makes you happy, I said, I really need to stop playing with a pick because I just feel more connected to the instrument, much more connected to the instrument. I mean, it feels like it feels like I'm doing something different, when I'm using my fingers. And I feel like, just that relationship is much stronger and deeper. Yeah. And so I said, Guy, how long, this is going to take me forever. He goes, no, it's not going to take you forever. He goes, try it for 2 months. You're going to be a hell of a lot better. So I'm like 2 weeks into it. And I'm already seeing that, it's not. But how do you pick fast? You can't really pick fast. I mean, what do you do? Do I have to grow my fingernails now, I guess, if I want to do that and use both fingernails, or what do you recommend?
No. Does anybody care how fast Jeff Beck plays?
No. Or Gilmore, who's my favorite guitarist. So absolutely. Yeah. So I'm not interested in shredding.
Well, yeah, there's been a lot, Charlie Christian only played downstrokes, so you could do that entirely with your thumb.
Okay. That's what he was saying.
Yeah. If you want to play fast, then, you probably got to incorporate some alternate picking with your first finger. Like, do you know who Scotty Anderson is?
Yeah. The jazz guy. Yeah, California. Yeah.
He's ridiculously
with
a thumb pick. as I get older and older, like I can play really fast, but as I get older and older, I'm playing slower and slower.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find more melody and less fire and brimstone. Like, I'm getting more and more into playing. I don't want to call it gypsy jazz, because it's not really gypsy jazz. I'm playing like early North American acoustic jazz music. And I'm more interested in hearing melody than I am in hearing pyrotechnics, because a lot of those guys that are playing that, well, in the gypsy field right now, they're freaking ridiculously good technicians, and they can, like the Rosenbergs are just like, they're ungodly. Those guys can play literally faster than, most metal guys can. But, Django could play really fast, but Django didn't play fast all the time. He played really melodically.
Yes.
So I think that's, Wes Montgomery could play fast.
Yeah.
He played with his thumb. I think it's.
That's what I should do, man. Who should I watch? I need to go back and I need to go watch some videos. Who should I watch?
You should watch Wes.
Okay.
You should watch Beck. You should watch Gatemouth Brown.
I'm a blues guy, so that would be perfect.
Yeah. Well, Gatemouth used his fingers a lot. But he doesn't, there's no pick involved in Gatemouth either.
Also, Hubert Sumlin, I think, didn't use
Hubert Sumlin, all those guys, man.
Okay.
Like you said, there's a distinct connection when you're playing with just flesh against strings, and like that's another, like because I've always had fingernails. That's all. I've always been able to connect to the guitar quite easily with my fingernails, because they're just extensions of my fingers. So when I started using the thumb pick, instantly I connected better with the guitar, because it was just like an extension of a fingernail.
Yeah.
And that's exactly right. Like when I was playing with a flat pick, I never really felt connected with the guitar.
I totally get it, man. I mean, I just really, it sounds ridiculous, but it's a tremendous, for me, it's a real difference. And you know what else too? I like, that's why I like darker, rosewood or ebony necks, because for me, it feels, more connected than a maple neck. I don't know why. Just
the tactile feel.
Yeah. I think it's, for me, for what I'm looking to get out of playing, it's very important, because I started late. I'm good in music. I was a musician. I was a kid. I played saxophone. Played at Carnegie Hall, so I'm musically inclined. But
you played at Carnegie Hall?
I did, man. Yeah, when I was 13, 1976. Yeah, it was really cool. It was all kids in this Bronx Borough band, and what was really, you got to sign in. There was this big fucking tomb that you had to sign in the date, and I'll never forget this. There was 8 or 10 or 12 of us hanging out, and half of us stood down on stage and the other half went literally last row, and we heard about how good these acoustics were, and man, we were able to talk to each other not much more than like you and I are talking now, maybe slightly, but it was phenomenal. And then we all switched and went back. We're like, holy shit, this is the legit, it was really cool. But so like I'm musical, but for me, as a guy starting late, I want to enjoy every second I pick it up. And I like the tactile, the note, I can feel it better. And it just resonates. That's my quirk. Maybe, I don't know. It just feels good. So I'm doing it. I don't really,
That's the way you should do it. Like I did a show with Jeff Beck a couple of years ago. We Gretsch did a show at Winter NAMM, which was us, Dwayne Eddy, and Jeff Beck. And I got
holy crap!
It was a good show. And I had a very, very brief encounter with Jeff Beck, and he's a really gracious guy. And I was talking to him about the Cliff Gallup model, because that's what we were there for.
For what?
For Cliff Gallup was the guitar player for Gene Vincent and the Blue Caps.
Okay.
Basically, that's, there's the, I guess you would call it the holy trinity of rockabilly guitar. There are more. There's Paul Burleson and those guys, but it's Franny Beecher from Bill Haley and the Comets. There's Eddie Cochran, and then there's Cliff Gallup. Those are the guys. If you learn their repertoire, you have got everything you ever going to need. And Cliff Gallup being, probably one of the most memorable. So, and he was only there for 30 songs. Like he only recorded 30, 35, somewhere around that amount of tunes that he recorded with Gene Vincent. And then he decided, he was older than all the rest of the band. So he decided not to continue with them, because his wife got pregnant and he wanted to stay home with his daughter. And so anyway, long story short, the biggest fan in the world of Cliff Gallup is probably Jeff Beck.
That's cool.
Massive fan. So, I hung out and just very briefly talked to him. And I said, are you, because he did that record years ago with the Newtown Playboys, which is a tribute to Cliff Gallup. And I said, are you going to, because he did everything. He had the thumb pick, the little one finger pick, and which is the way Cliff Gallup played. And he had a special gauge of strings and all this stuff. And I said, are you going to do that? He said, yeah, I'm going to try and do that. So I watched him play, and he lasted with the thumb pick and the finger pick for probably one tune. Then off came to his old style with just flesh. And it didn't sound any freaking different to me.
But sorry.
And I've never seen anybody have so much fun in my life.
It's almost like beyond human what he does with it. And I interviewed two of his guitar players, Jennifer Batten, who played with him for 3 years, and she's a phenomenal player. Really great. And then Carmen Vandenberg, who played with him on the last before this current album.
Right.
And I asked them both, I says, hey, how does he do what he does? And they both were like, I watched him every night and I have no fucking clue. Like I studied him and I don't know anymore now after, 100 shows or 200 shows. And,
he's like a bumblebee.
Yeah.
This should not be able to fly.
Yeah.
It flies, right? Yeah. Just watching him was like watching how he manipulates the guitar and is like, that's everything's so unorthodox the way he does it, but it always works. But I think the real thing that really affected me that entire night was, I really haven't seen anybody have that much fun on stage in a long, long time. Like he was having a ball.
That's so cool.
And he covers himself in talcum powder, right? He has this talcum powder everywhere because he likes to have his hands covered in talcum powder when he plays. And it's like,
really?
He's in a cloud of talc.
That's weird. It's
like
so he must be sweating a lot then, because otherwise you can't put talc. You'll be slipping all over the place, I think.
Yeah. I think that's what happens. That's how he uses the talcum to get the sweat off his hands.
Oh.
And so there's that cloud of talcum around him, and he's just he's playing and he's playing one of his big influences. Like when he was a kid, he was nuts for Cliff Gallup.
Yeah.
Just this huge smile on his face. And just, man, this guy is having a great time.
You guys were playing Gretsch's, all of you?
Yeah, I had my signature with me, and then Dwayne had his signature with him, and then Jeff was playing Jeff got to sort of promote or premiere the Cliff Gallup Duojet.
Very cool, man.
Yeah.
So talk about gear, man. What's your go-to guitar right now? And I don't mean for like studio stuff. I mean the guitar you like playing, and what other two guitars would round out your top three?
Okay, right. Well, that changes by the day. Right now is that little ES-140 that I finished restoring.
Okay.
I love that guitar. That guitar is so stupidly fun to play.
It's so cool.
It's got a 22-inch scale on it. Like it's tiny. Think of taking your Les Paul and cutting it off at the 3rd fret.
Yeah.
And that's the low E all of a sudden. It's so small and so slinky. I've got 12s on it, and I can bend the high E string up probably easily a major third.
Oh, wow.
It's so slinky.
You're a big guy though, you said, right?
Yeah.
How tall are you?
I'm thinking about putting 13s on it because it's almost too slinky.
13.
Right now that's my flavor. That's I just love playing it because I just finished it. It's my new toy. So
Sure. How tall are you?
What was that?
How tall are you?
Well, I'm only 6 foot tall.
Okay.
Don't put me against. I've hung up with Greg Koch a few times.
He's like 6'5", that dude or something, isn't he?
Oh, he's giant. Yeah.
A lot of guitar players are very tall. I met a lot of these guys at NAMM. I'm like, all I'm talking to them is on on Skype. I'm like, holy shit! And I'm not big. I'm only 5'9", so I'm like, oh
they're
my God.
monsters.
Yeah.
I'd say my go-to guitar right now, just because it's the gigs I'm doing, is there's a builder here in Vancouver named Warren Murfitt, and I met Warren about 10 years ago, and we became fast buddies. That's where I use his luthier shop to do the work that I was doing. And he made a Telecaster and I cannot remember this guy's name, but he's the blonde kid from the Harry Potter movies. He's like the Harry Potter's nemesis.
Okay.
Well, he was shooting a film here in Vancouver because there's a ton of films being made here all the time, and he and Warren somehow met, and he made this Telecaster for him, and I played it, and I said, "Listen, this is possibly the nicest Telecaster I've ever played. It's by no means perfect, but I just love the way he made it." So I said, "I want you to make me one." So he made me one, and it's a thin line made out of a 100-year-old piece of fur that came out of the roof of his shop.
Oh, what a great story that is. That's so cool.
Yeah. So what we did is we took it's a 2-inch billet of fur that we sliced out of the roof, and we sliced the top off. We sort of sliced the top off like bread, and then hollowed it out so we made a thin line. Then put the top back on.
Very cool, man.
Double bound, and then this crazy thing. He found a pallet of rosewood out in the valley, about an hour outside of town.
Wait a minute, that's what everybody's saying. Since they got sites, I found this rosewood. You're not going to believe.
Well, you can't get rid of it. No one can get rid of it.
Yeah.
It's fine being here. It's in Canada, like as long as I don't try and sell it over the border, it's fine. But he found this pallet of rosewood and like beautiful, beautiful blanks of rosewood. So I went through the whole palette and I found this one piece that was quarter sawn. I don't know if you know what quarter sawn is.
What does that mean?
I've heard grain. Like if you're looking at it, there's sometimes if you're looking at it, the flat edge, if you see a wide grain, like a pattern that does circular stuff, that's not quarter sawn. Quarter sawn is like the grain on the top of an acoustic guitar. That's quarter sawn.
Okay.
So I found a block of rosewood that was quarter sawn. And I said, "I want this." He says, "Okay, I'll make the fretboard out of it." I said, No. I want the whole neck made out of this.
Oh, wow. So
the whole neck is made out of rosewood. And it's
man, I've never seen it. Do you have it? Is it handy, that guitar?
Yeah, it's around here somewhere. Hold on. Is that it?
This is like show and tell. I'm sorry. I feel bad that I'm just to tell the listen. I'll try to describe the guitar. I know you guys are listening, but this is like, being in a bit of a candy shop.
Strap on it.
Another cool strap. Yeah. Okay. So it's a thin line telly. It's in wood. It's a wood grain with a white.
It's ambered.
White pickguard. Man, let me see the side of that. Oh, the whole thing is rosewood. Wow. I have never seen that before.
It's the bomb. I love this guitar. It's got a 50, almost a 55 profile, because a friend of mine's got a really great 55, and it's the best Telecaster I ever had. So I was able to profile this neck almost like a 55.
So it's a little thicker, the neck.
It's got a slight V to it through here, but it's not huge. It's not a bat.
Okay.
Right? It's not like a 52. 52 is a big neck. This is the 55 is a little more sleek. And it's narrow. I think it's 1 9/16 at the nut. So
that is narrow. It's beautiful, man. And what kind of pickup you have in there? So you have a regular Telecaster in the bridge?
These are Tom made me these as well. These are TV Jones. This is the prototype of his Telecaster pickups, which you can get now, but he gave me these pickups like 5 years ago. This is the first set he ever made. And I didn't use them for a long time, and they're great. And the difference is that the magnets are from Dynasonic, so they're bigger magnets. So they're a little bit beefier. They have a little bit more authority to them. And the best part is this grain pattern. Right?
Yeah, I was just looking at that, and it's got the knurling. Is that no? That's not. It's not knurling. What is it called? Around the side.
Oh, the binding.
Yeah, it's got there's another name for it. It's got the binding on both sides, top and bottom, and in the middle there's it looks like grainy. It looks really cool.
It is. It's just the natural grain of the wood.
Really cool guitar, man.
A little circle right there, which is I'm really fond of, and this is the guitar. I take this guitar everywhere. Unless I'm doing a gig that really needs a Gretsch, this is the guitar I play everywhere.
Beautiful looking guitar, man.
I love it, and it looks great. It is a beautiful guitar, but it sounds freaking great, and you can do anything on it. It's really fun to play. So that, and then my third, I've got a beautiful guitar that Warren made me an acoustic as well, but my main acoustic is a 1965 Guild M20. What a small body student guitar, which I love.
What about your electric? What would be your third electric?
Third electric? That's a good question. Third electric. because I got a lot of electric guitars.
Yeah.
I'd probably bring the Synchro Club, the Gretsch.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's I've got a lot of Gretsches and I love them all, but the Synchro Club is really, it's a head and shoulders above all the others.
Man, so if I wanted to get a Gretsch, what would you recommend? Where would I start?
What's your budget?
Oh, good question. Like used, what if I wanted to spend like $1,500 to $2,000 used?
I'd get a Country Club. I think the Country Club for me is one of my favorite, because the Country Club is the same as the Falcon. They're basically the same guitar, just the Falcon is like Liberace's version of the Country Club.
So it's got extra bells and whistles.
Not everybody likes the bling and the flash of the Falcon. But the Country Club is a it's a great all around guitar. It's a big guitar though. Like, you got to be prepared to be playing a large guitar.
Like, is it bigger than this?
Oh yeah, it's way bigger.
Bigger than the 335.
Yeah, way bigger.
Oh, then that's not for me.
Yeah. So if you're looking for something small like that, then
yeah, that's as big as I would go, as a 335.
I see that Les Paul behind you. Getting a Duojet, a Dynasonic equipped Duojet is really the bomb. There's something special about a Dynasonic Duojet.
Okay, I'll look into those, man. Yeah, I've just been thinking I like the sound of those. Yeah,
there's because the Filtertron Duojets with the humbuckers are great. Don't get me wrong, they're great. They're definitely more of a modern sound. Like, even though they're not, like, they started making Filtertron Duojets in 58, 59. But the Dynasonic ones have a certain quality to them that the sparkle that comes off them. Did I sent you some stuff by Stephen Ulrich? Did I send you that stuff? The Big Lazy, the guys from New Jersey?
No. What was it called? Yeah, you did. What was it?
Big Lazy is the name of the band.
Yes, you did. And you said, yeah, that was good.
Yeah, he plays.
That was really good. Yeah. Okay.
He plays a 55 Duojet with stock, so it came with Dynasonics. And man, it's the most evil twang guitar of all times.
Those are single coil pickups.
Yeah. No.
What okay, what year do I look for in used? Or do I avoid? Maybe that's a better question. I don't know. It depends if they're like Gibsons or.
Yeah, well, you want to probably, I don't know. It's all hit and miss, right? Because Gretsch had some weird quality controls back in the 50s. Some of them are great, some of them are not. Just like every company.
Yeah. Okay.
A lot of people don't like the Boonville years, which are the late 60s, early into the 70s, when Baldwin took over the company. I, however, do not mind those guitars. I think they made some great guitars. In fact, they make the Rock Jet, which I think is one of the most spectacular Gretsches ever made. So I think the thing with any guitar is I buy a lot of guitars and I bought them online, and that's an addiction I have. Is like I'll just go on, like, I gotta have that guitar. But the best way to buy a guitar is just
I have to buy it in person, because I've bought a couple online and it's been like.
It's never as good as you hope.
It's just disappointing, because you're like, oh man, I'm so psyched the guitar comes. And then, of course, your wife's like, oh, another guitar. And then, like, at least if you're like fucking excited about it, then she'll be like happy for you. But if you're like, oh, this sucks. And it's like, yeah, my wife's really cool. I'm just, you know what I'm talking about though. It's just like,
There's nothing worse than getting all excited about a guitar coming to your house and then go, oh, this is fucking a drag. This thing's a piece of crap.
I got to sell this. And you start thinking how much you're going to lose in such a short period of time. It's like, just degrees of loss. I like to just, you pay a little bit more, but at least you get what you want and it's yours. That's it. Period.
The only one that I bought online where I was more than happy with was and I've owned 3 of these, was about 12 or 15 years ago. I bought a 1928 Gibson L1.
Oh, wow.
And I've owned a lot of those. I've owned a Nick Lucas from 28, and I've owned a couple more L1s. And this one I got for a deal and a half. I didn't get it for much. And it came out of Arizona, and it was dry as a bone. And if it weighed 3 pounds, I would be surprised if it weighed that much.
Wow.
It was so light and so airy. It was perfect. Not physically. Of course, it had been through the ringer a bunch. But it was a great guitar, and I was more than satisfied with that one. But the majority of guitars I've bought online, you go,
I know. I bought.
Like I just bought it. Well,
go ahead. No, you go.
I just bought an Echo 700, which is a guitar I've always wanted. Because, when I grew up and I had my first guitar books, my parents would buy me guitar books and, the big hardcover ones. And the centerfold would always be the Echo 700 because it was so crazy.
I gotta look that up.
Crazy Italian guitar, with sparkle and mother of toilet seat all over it. And
mother of toilet seat.
Yeah, and I've always wanted one. One came up for sale on Reverb and it just kept on dropping in price. I finally said, yeah, I'll buy it.
Oh my God, this thing is like a spaceship.
Oh yeah, it's the epitome of Italian 1960s design. That and the Wandre Rock Oval.
Yeah, the Wandre. Oh my God, this is wild looking.
Yeah, so I found one of those, and it turns out the guy was selling it was in Vancouver, and it turns out I knew the guy.
Oh my God!
Is really weird. So I bought it off Reverb, and I went to go pick it up, and it was sonically it wasn't what I was hoping because it's so microphonic that you can't even touch it without it coming out of the amplifier. But it's got a thing. There's something there. I've used it on a record already.
You sound like an addict, man. You're like the sound, like this is what it sucks, but it's really got a thing.
Hey, there's a tune on I forget what Cousin Harley record is that song. It might be on It's a Sin that I did. It's called Haas's Hoedown. And it's the most blistering song we've ever. It's like ridiculously fast and ridiculously cowpunky instrumental tune. And I used this piece of crap Xenon that was in the studio. And if you've ever played a Xenon, you'll go, "How did you ever do this on a Xenon?" Because the neck is literally as round as a baseball bat. The action was probably an inch off the fretboard. I'm playing at Mach 1 on this guitar.
Good for you,
man! It sounds fantastic.
That's awesome, man.
For what it is, it's like Ennio Morricone on
Ennio Morricone
on meth.
On acid. Oh my God! Just remember one thing: admitting you have a problem is the first step.
Oh, dude, I don't even count them anymore.
Yeah.
People ask me how many I got. I said I don't know. I have less than I did a year ago. I can.
Oh, that's good, man.
Yeah, I'm clearing house. But what happens is when I clear house,
you're like, oh, I have all this empty. You replace them with I don't know, something, baby toys or something.
I'm thinking about an SG lately. I don't know why.
Let me tell you, man, I love my SG. I have it's a 2014, but it's a 61 replica. And like I said, I'm not a big guy. I'm 5'9", and the neck is just perfect for me. I love it. I really like that guitar. Well, let's go back to the Gretsch. One more question. I'm really more of a humbucker sound guy. I mean, I like my Strats, but that's because it's a Strat.
Right.
Do they have something in a Gretsch that's got more of a humbucker sound?
Oh yeah, anything that's Filtertron that's got Filtertrons in it, like those are humbuckers.
Okay.
Those are those were designed by Ray Butts many years ago, and they're really great. But if you're looking for something that's maybe a little bit beefier, because the Filtertron is a low output humbucker, which is like a PAF. A PAF is a low output.
Which is fine. I'm good with that. I just like a more of a MIDI roaring, a growling sound.
Right. So you might want to try a Power Jet.
A Power Jet. Okay.
Yeah, the Power Jet. Power Jet comes with what are they called? They're TV Jones, and they're like are they Powertron? Maybe they're called Powertrons. I forget. But they're just a little bit more output level. That might be more your vibe.
Okay.
Probably, if you're playing blues with them, I would suggest probably be a better choice. Yeah, because you want something with a little bit more growl and mid range.
Yeah. Okay. So TV Jones Power Jet. Awesome, man. Anybody who influences your playing, people would be surprised.
I'm a nut for Tal Farlow.
Ah, very cool.
Crazy for Tal Farlow. Who else? Well, there's as long as a guitar player's got something interesting to say, I'm usually really into them. Like, there's so many obvious ones. People listen to me and they go, well, you like all the great rockabilly guitar players. You like Charlie Christian, you like Les Paul and stuff like that. There was a guitar player that was really, if I was only left with a few records, when it came to swing guitar, there's a guitar player named Jimmy Rivers, who you probably know about Jimmy Rivers because you've interviewed Campolongo.
Yes.
He's a nut for Rivers as well. That guy. Who else do I really like? I'm a big John McLaughlin fan. But I'm a John McLaughlin fan when he played with Shakti, with his Indian combo.
Yeah.
I love that stuff. And I'm a big fan of John Renbourn.
I don't know him.
John Renbourn was a British fingerstyle guitar player from the 60s. Nuts for him. And Adrian Belew.
Oh, yeah. Great player, man.
Which most people would never think of me being into Adrian Belew, but
you just like exotic things and different things. You know, you don't like conventional. I could totally see you being into Adrian Belew. It doesn't mean you have to play like him, but I could see you liking him very much.
I met him at a festival about 6 or 7 years ago, and I was good friends with the festival organizer, and I had just seen him play, and I was like, that was just the most mind-boggling experience. And the festival organizer comes running up to me and says, Adrian just tore the tremolo bar out of his guitar. He needs to borrow a guitar. Can he borrow your Falcon? And I said, well, yeah, but can't do what he does on a Gretsch Falcon, man.
Yeah.
You need something that sounds like it's made out of rubber to do what he does.
Yeah.
So I brought it to him, and we hung out for a little while. He says, this is a beautiful guitar, but it's not going to do what I need. And I said, I know it's not going to do what you need.
Yeah.
So someone found him a Mustang, which is what he used to play years ago in King Crimson. So that worked out. But I'm not sure whatever happened, but I hooked him up with Gretsch. I'm not sure if he ever got them on board for him, because he really liked the Falcon.
Man, I'm sensing the Everyone Loves Guitar Gretsch model.
I like it. We'll design it together.
Yeah, we'll design it together, which means I'll say, Paul, what do you do?
It's got everything. It's got a blender. Is that some kind of pickup thing? No, it actually makes cocktails.
It slices. It dices. Yeah. Oh, my God. Man, talk about Desert Island Discs, top 3 in no particular order, and knowing this could change any minute.
All right, Jimmy Rivers.
Yeah.
Jimmy Rivers, Cherokee's big Brisbane Bop. I'll listen to that until the day I die.
Good for you, man. What's that album called?
Brisbane Bop.
Okay.
Can I do a compilation?
Yeah, man.
Best of AC/DC.
That is interesting.
Love AC/DC.
Man, dude, get a box set. Let's go big or go home, man. AC/DC box set. Yeah. AC/DC. Yeah.
Never wrote a bad song. Never wrote a bad song. That's because they're all the same.
They're all the same.
A reason they're all the same. It's like, if you find the perfect formula, why fuck with it?
Well, it's like that. Like my daughter came home that she's 18, or somebody, my son one of them was saying, "Oh, the new Eminem album dropped." I'm like, "So what? Just fucking listen to the first or second or fifth, and it's this." I'm like, every album's like that. I can't tell the difference. I'm like,
I know, but like, that's not my bag. But he found his formula, and AC/DC found the perfect rock formula.
Yeah, they were like Chuck Berry on electric, electrified.
Yeah,
Chuck Berry. Well, not that he wasn't electrified, but Chuck Berry with distortion.
Chuck Berry, Australian pissed off drunkards.
That's it, man. It is. I mean, and they did it better than anybody.
Yeah, someone brought me. Actually, I did a Gretsch thing, and someone brought me one of Malcolm's guitars.
Oh yeah, he's a Gretsch guy.
Yeah, and I plugged it in, and I hit one chord, and went, yeah, that's his guitar off there. It's the right. Instantly sounded like it.
Really.
And the third disc. Let's see, that's a tough one. All right, third disc. Well, I'll do another box set. Box set of the best of Django Reinhardt.
You're getting carried away with the box sets, Paul.
Well.
No, that's cool.
It's a big desert island.
It is, man. Cool. Most important things you've learned about yourself, man, over your career and throughout life.
That I learned about myself?
Yeah.
That I'm probably a very irresponsible child.
No, I don't buy that.
No, I'm one stubborn ass son of a bitch, because I've done this for a long time, and I refuse to give up. I don't have the the international status, or I don't.
You You do. You're in Canada. I'm in the States. That's international.
That's true. That's true.
This is an international call.
That is true. That is true.
Of major importance, as far as I'm concerned.
That is very true.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, it's funny. It's funny. I have a friend he's a game designer. He does soundtracks for video games, and he texted me about like 3 or 4 weeks ago. It says, "You're going to be on Everybody Loves Guitar, man. That's awesome." Go,
you're kidding me.
Fuck, did you know that?
Are you serious?
Yeah,
that is.
He's friends with Luca though, so maybe Luca told him. I don't know, but
you know what? He's on my email list, and what happens is every couple of weeks I put out, "Hey, these are my guests that are coming up, and if you have any specific questions for them, send it in." So that that could be too. That is hilarious.
He's a super guitar geek. He's a super guitar geek.
That is so funny. Oh, you know what? Yeah. You know, it's great to hear that because, like, it's probably the same thing when you sell records. Like, you see all you do is see numbers. But then when you go to a show and you play and you say, "Hey, man, if someone says I listened to this album, you know, it really meant a lot to me. It got me over a breakup, or you know, whatever. You know, I had a tough night. I just really was moved, or you know, whatever." And it takes on a whole different. So like when I hear like this guy, I'm like, oh, real people are listening to this.
They're listening. Yeah. For me, it's when I see people singing along.
Ah, yeah, that's got to be very rewarding.
Yeah. No, I think being I've learned that I'm a very stubborn person when it comes to, everybody says change is good and all that stuff. Not for me when it comes to music. Like this is what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I could have jumped the tracks many times, but I haven't, and I don't. As long as I'm not forced to, I probably won't. So.
Yeah, but this is so personal music. You know, you can't. It's not going to work. I mean, maybe it will, but not for long. Yeah, like you had that experience when you were younger, and you said I was taking everything and saying yes, and I said I you crashed at some point. And you said I can't do this.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think if I decided to stop playing for like I never would stop playing, but stop playing for a living, I don't know how long that would last. Like I moved to China in 2001, and I didn't play a gig for 9 months, or for almost a year.
What can you talk about what made you move to China?
Why does any man move anywhere?
Women,
of course.
You're chasing a girl. Good for you.
Yeah, it didn't work out. And it was, China was a really weird experience for me. I had a lot of problems going back to China last year for that tour because, I had a lot of reservations about going back. I didn't have a great time, but not playing a gig for almost a year really, really made me. When I got back, I went nuts.
You tore it up.
Every night I was out every night playing and partying my brains out and just going, thank God I'm back here. Thank God. Like, not that I didn't, I can't say I had a great time in China, but it was an interesting experience living there and teaching. I taught music.
Oh, okay.
And I taught English, but I wasn't playing. I wasn't, and it wasn't even that I wasn't playing in front of people or I didn't have big audiences. It was that I wasn't playing with other people.
Yeah.
I like playing in a band. I like playing solo too. But there's always other people. There's either the other people in the audience, but the other people on stage. I like that. That's the way I connect. That's, because like I said, I don't really connect well with people. You and I are different because, I can say it to you.
I think we have the same, I think we have matching dysfunctions, to be honest with you. It has to be because like I'm listening, you're like, this is what I was thinking when you said that. Most guys move across, a few states to chase a girl. No, you find a girl that's in fucking China. You got to go chase her. But you know what? That's the kind of shit that happens to me. And I'm like, there's only one other idiot that I know of that would do something like that. And it would be me because it's like, I can't have something easy, like, oh, I met a woman who lives on the other side of town. No, that's too fucking easy. It's got to be on the other side of the planet, So it was very funny when you said that. Like, yeah, I could see that. So yeah, I think we have the same dysfunction. So we it's simpatico, it's just like two puzzle pieces that really may not fit in other puzzles, and just like you have your own unique puzzle, and it's proud of it, sort of,
Yeah, absolutely.
I totally get that, man. I totally, unfortunately, get that.
Yeah, I know. Well, I think there's a certain amount of self-destructive tendencies for most people that are artistically inclined as well. And I think that's part of it. Like I was going, well, screw it. I'm gonna light up the fuse of my life here, and I'm gonna go there, and then that one exploded, and then I'll go over there, and I'll blew that one up again. So
yeah,
there's a lot of stuff like in my boxcar record, and in the Cousin Harley stuff as well that I write. There's a lot of stuff about that, about blowing up bridges and going, I don't fucking know, and then I like to write stories for my songs, and I sometimes they're not about me. Sometimes they're very vague. I try to say that none of my songs are about me, but there's always some kind of little part of it that's about me.
I kind of realized that I was doing stuff like that, like just not intentionally, but just making choices that were incredibly difficult. Like honestly, like I'm 54, so probably 4, maybe 5 years ago, and I've really done a lot of work to like remediate that. It's not perfect, but I've really done a lot of work because like really being happy has really become like so important to me. So I really try to think, is this congruent with me being happy? Is this happy and no stress?
When you finish your book, send me a copy.
Really, it's a $25,000 seminar. It's a workshop in Fiji.
All right. I can do it in trade. I got some guitar tricks I can show you.
That would be awesome, man. And a couple of guitars. That would be great.
Yeah, there's lots of those. You can just come up yourself.
Dude, I'm down. Well, this is a good question to ask you then next. What's your definition of happiness?
Definition of happiness. That's a good question. As I said, I think I already mentioned that I battled depression for a long time. So it's tricky. I think happiness is just being at peace with yourself. And so every once in a while you just, I don't have a lot of that, but every once in a while you just kind of go, wow, this is all good. I'm usually, if you want to talk, superficial happiness for me, superficial happiness is being on stage.
Yeah.
I love it. I love being on stage, and I love having a great audience, and I especially love it when I'm a sideman. Yeah. But personal happiness is just every once in a while it just seems that everything clicks, and you go, you can just tune out, and you go, all right, who knows what's going to happen about rent in 6 months? Who knows what's going to happen about this in 6 months? But right now, it's good.
That's good.
And I think that's kind of the way I think most people describe, or most people who are teaching you how to be happy, be the counselors or anything like that. That's kind of the principle, is that you have to be in the moment. Maybe that's a very Zen thing.
No, I think being present is like really important, man. Especially now, like you've got a kid. I'm sure it's changed your life dramatically.
Oh yeah, and she's awesome. She, it's at having a 3-year-old at 49 is a freaking ton of work, but it's fantastic. It is really awesome. She keeps me highly entertained, and I've always been like Mr. Cool. I'm not the guy that's going to go do weird things, but I'm having tea parties. I'm tucking in stuffies. I'm
being a dad.
Poop. I'm singing songs. Man, I got a whole record about poop.
And you need to make a DVD about this.
My favorite one about poop, which we haven't sang a lot of time because we're pretty much potty trained now. But who's got the poopy diaper? Is it Daddy?
There you go. Because I have no sense of smell, I would be the guy whenever the kids would shit all over the place or whatever, a vomit, throw me in because it doesn't matter. I can't smell anything. That was the only upside.
I would have to get my wife to go, sniff this diaper. Is this diaper full or not? I can't tell.
Yeah. It's the same thing, man. I don't know. Another tough question, man. What do you like most about yourself?
Oh, that's a hard one. That's a hard one for a guy who battles with depression. I would go with, I like my stubbornness. I like that I am stubborn about what I'm doing. I'm like a dog on a bone when it comes to an idea. If I have an idea, like musically, like if I have to say this is something I'm going to do, I will not let go of that bone until I die.
I also get the vibe from you that you're like, you've been in a foxhole and you gotten through, Yeah. So I don't know. I feel like that about me. I like that about myself, that I'm not a survivor, because that sounds like very dramatic, but,
no, then you can pull yourself out.
Yeah. I can pull myself out. I can get through most shit. Not that I want to get through anything, but at this point in time, I'm like, fucking done. Please, I need a break.
Yeah, I think once you hit this age that you and I are in, I'm not interested.
Yeah, I don't need to be a hero every day anymore. I'm totally comfortable being really fucking boring at this point. Honestly, man, like, running out of tequila is like I want that to be my biggest problem,
That is a very big problem, young man.
Yeah.
Massive problem. My mother just gave me a beautiful bottle of Don Julio Añejo.
Oh, the triangle bottle, the brown one?
No, this is one she got in Mexico. It's a silver bottle. It's a special limited edition.
My God, that is delicious.
Yeah, I haven't cracked it yet. I'm going to crack it.
It's really. My birthday
today, so.
It's your what? It's your birthday today?
It's my birthday yesterday, or 2 days ago.
Happy birthday, man!
Thanks, man.
Very cool.
49, big 50 next year, buddy.
Happy birthday, man! That's really cool, man. I turned 55 in a couple of months. This is the first time ever. Like, God, that really sounds like very old. I mean, it really, like 55. Now I'm like fucking beyond AARP. I don't know what the next tier is, but it's like not good. I'm just like really grateful I'm in good shape, because like if I was 55 and like looked like some of the people on Facebook that are 55 that I went to school with, I'd be depressed myself, man. I'd be therapy. Something or someone you miss from your childhood.
Someone I miss from my childhood. I miss a lot of things from my childhood. I miss just the carefreeness, but then I remember being a kid and I was really, really unhappy. The guy that I used to play with a guy named John Wilson. He's still around. He still plays around Toronto. I miss him because, he really tried to bring me out of my shell. And I learned how to play with him. Our first gig was in the high school bathroom.
That's cool.
It had the best acoustics. So we said, we're going to go practice. He was, it sounds good in the bathroom. Let's go in the bathroom.
That's pretty cool.
There's no way I would have done that. Like at that point in my life, I was so shy and such an introvert that, to do something like play in a bathroom or play, in front of anybody would have just terrified me. And he basically, he kicked me out of the nest.
That's great.
Yeah.
Really cool.
I still keep in touch with him every once in a while. I saw him in Toronto a few years ago, and I give him a call, and he's still nuts. He's out of his mind, and he's like the fastest talker. You'd be lucky if you can get 3 words in on him. He's about 6'5". He's a huge guy and big, happy, roly-poly dude.
It's funny. Like 1 out of every 35 or 40 interviews, I'll get someone like that, and I could tell early on, and it's good and it's bad. It's good because I literally have to do nothing. Like I ask the first question, they answer it. They answer a different question. I don't know what question, but then it's like, and then like maybe an hour and 15 minutes, I'm like, hey, so I have 2 more questions for you. And then that's like, it's like a Bugs Bunny cartoon for an hour and 15 minutes.
I like to play Telecasters, but sometimes, what I really like? I like a Clementine. I think a Clementine is one of the best citrus. And citrus, you know what else rhymes with citrus?
And that's exactly right. And like, I am not going to try to compete with that because you got something going on up there, like the ADD gene, and it's way fucking stronger than anything I'm going to be able to say. I surrender. I salute you. Have at it, man.
Ride the wave.
I mean, what am I going to do? You just like, I mean, the only other choice is look, please. And then that's not going to go over well. That's like, everybody's going to be like, wow, that guy sounds like a dick. So I just, seriously, I mean, so I, and I'm cool with that. I get it. Everybody's different, God, I feel like I'm that guy now. Going off on these tangents.
I haven't started chewing on my toenails again. Wait,
no. Save that for afterwards. I want to enjoy that alone.
I know you're recording everything here on you're doing a video recording.
Who's had the no? Look at my face. You think I'm gonna put it on video? I got a face for radio. Who's had the biggest influence on you, musically and personally?
Musically, I would say my teacher, Ellie.
In college?
When I was in university, yeah.
You went to University of Toronto?
He was really important. In fact, I named my daughter Eleanor.
Wow.
Just so that if I wanted to shorten it, I could shorten it to Ellie, because the other choice was Eldon.
That's great.
If she was going to be a boy, yeah. Ellie was really important to me. Like, he really solidified. He was the first guy that really, like, he thought enough of me as a player and as a student that first, he hired me to teach at his personal studio, and he of course offered for me to go study with Lee Bauer, and he would have these parties whenever international guitar players would come, and he would always hook me up with them at his party, and we would play the blues or something, because it was novel, because these classical guys couldn't play the blues if their life depended on it. Sure. Right. And he would love it that we would get together, and one of his students would just basically play circles around this guy playing a 12 bar. Yet, it would be like, some really important classical guitar player. Or I would come down, I'd be teaching upstairs, and he'd knock on my door and stop the lesson and say, "Paul, you have to come downstairs." And I go down, "You're going to have tea with me." And I go downstairs, and John Williams would be sitting there or something.
The movie, the movie score?
Guitar player.
The what?
There's a very famous classical guitar player named John Williams.
Oh, wow. Very cool, man.
The soundtrack for The Deer Hunter, that's John.
Okay. Yeah.
It's fine. In the 80s, he was the superstar of classical guitar. He would be the most important person.
That's very cool, man. That's really sweet that you had named your daughter after him.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
cool.
I'm not sure he even knows.
Well, I'm sure he listens to Everyone Loves Guitar too, so he will now.
No, he's 90 something. I'm sure.
My podcast goes to any age, man.
It does all ages.
All ages, races, colors. It's like
store.
it's all right. Doesn't make you a bad person.
Okay.
How about personally? What's that?
Personally, that's a tough one. Well, my wife has been very important with keeping me sane the last 15 years.
You've been together 15 years? Good for you, man.
Yeah, well, we've only been married. This will be our 6th anniversary, I think.
I don't count my marriage. I count my time together. I mean, what?
Yeah. We've been together since 15 years. It'll be 15 years.
Congratulations, man. Good for you. And let me tell you, what is your wife's name?
Erin.
Erin, you are a saint. You have the patience of Job.
Another guitar, because for years it's like, "Oh, you got another guitar." Now it's like, another guitar. I knew the foot would drop. I knew it.
The switch turns, man. Yeah. Best thing that ever happened to you?
Eleanor.
Awesome, man. Very cool.
Yeah. Musically, best thing that ever happened to me. Yeah, that's a good question. Probably. Well, I've played with a lot of great guys. So hanging out with Setzer, hanging out with the Reverend, hanging out with James Burton, hanging out with all those cats. They're great guys. Makes me. It sort of validates in my own head that because I've always had it's like any guitar player. We've always got personal issues with like, am I any good, or am I really doing anything that's different, or anything that's listening to? And when I get to play with the guys that were really important to me, then that sort of validates it.
But I think you're an entrepreneur basically, and anytime you're an entrepreneur and you're working solo, that is always an issue. Mm-hmm. You always wonder. I mean, to some extent, you can try to measure how good you are by how much money you're making, but you're still all alone.
Yeah.
And when someone else, even like, when that's when you said, I was like, wow, that's a real cool thing that like this guy, like, the show or something like that. It's not an ego stroke for me. It's just like, oh, people are listening. It's like a valid, it's not like, I am definitely not ego motivated one little bit, but I was like, wow, that's really cool that I'm making someone happy and they like it. We're connecting, that kind
like
of
that dude, and the Spanish dude with the video of me behind him playing on YouTube. Yeah. Someone sent that to me, and I said, that's the most incredible thing I've seen in years, because this guy loves this thing.
Yeah.
He loves he's basically playing the first track off my instructional DVD.
Oh, is that what it was?
That's what he's playing. And I'm like, dude, that's awesome. Like, I've made a huge impact with this guy to the point that he had a shirt embroidered with my name on it.
Yeah. And his video says he's you, which could be problematic, but yeah.
No, I don't care.
It's a little disturbing.
However, I've seen other videos by him, and he has other shirts with other people's names on them. So that's kind of his bag. Whoever this guy is, that's his bag.
I'll tell you a funny story about that. Do you know a guy? He's a session player, very good player. He tours as well in Ireland, called Anto Drennan.
No.
He's a great guy and a really good player. And he had an encounter with B.B. King, and he told this story on the show. And he says, I played for B.B. King, and he comes over to me after the show, and he says, son, come here. I'd like to talk with you. And he puts his arm around me. He goes, and he sticks his hand out, and he shakes his hand and goes, you really moved me tonight.
That's a big deal.
And Anto's like, Mr. King, thank you, sir. I can't tell you. And he's walking on cloud 9, and he's walking around later in the evening, and he hears B.B. King pull someone aside and says, you really moved me tonight. So he said, I was so it's like the guy with, he just told me the same story where the guy's got other people's shirts embroidered. He was like, I went from here to like down. He goes, I still felt good that B.B. King thought enough of me to come over, but I felt so special. And then, maybe not,
Maybe you're the only one for me.
Yeah, right. That's exactly. But yeah. You have any hobbies or interests outside of music, Paul?
I just fix guitars.
Like music and guitars.
I fix guitars. That's what I like doing. That's about it. It really is. I've often thought I needed to find a hobby that's away from anything musical. I've yet to find it, but I'm looking.
Two more questions, man. Toughest decision you ever had to make, or hardest thing you ever had to do?
Toughest decision I ever had to make, or the hardest thing I ever had to do? I have no idea. It's all tough, but then it's all easy at the same time, right? Yeah. I think probably when I first moved out west, because I was still pretty introverted at that point, and I sat down with my dad. My dad's like, he's as molto Italiano as you can get. He has his own lingo for like words he doesn't know how to say in English. Like, here, you'll love this. My father says one day, hey, get me the spaghetti stop a while ago.
What? Spaghetti what?
Spaghetti stop a while ago. I go, what the fuck is that? The bowl with the holes in it. The spaghetti stops and the water goes. That's my dad.
That's classic. The spaghetti stop a water go. That's classic, man.
That's my dad.
God bless him. That's awesome.
I was really sort of I was having a hard time deciding if I was going to move out west. And the same thing when I moved to China. And I talked to him. He said, listen, I grew up in Italy during the war, and we had nothing. We moved down to the south to try and build something. We couldn't build anything. I left everything and came to Canada. I didn't know anybody, and I moved here. And look at this now, So, yeah, that was,
Yeah, that's pretty inspiring.
Yeah, it was. I wish I got to see him more often. He was just in Italy, and he wanted me to go with him, and I just couldn't make it work this time because I just had the nose operation, and I had these gigs I had to do.
How far away is he from you now?
He's in Ontario, so he's 4,000 kilometers away.
Oh, that's 8,800 miles. That's quite a ways. Has he seen you?
It's 3,000 miles.
Oh, wait a minute.
Kilometers less than a mile.
Oh yeah, 2.2 miles in a kilometer. I'm going the other way. Yeah. Okay. Has he seen your daughter yet?
Yes, we brought her over a few times. We're gonna fly out to Montreal because that's where my wife's family is from.
Oh, great.
And we'll fly out there, and I'm going to fly my father into Montreal.
Very cool, man. That's nice. So good. That's great, man. I hope you have fun with him. Mm-hmm. Last question, man. And honestly, this has been like nothing but a joy, man. And I would love to connect with you in person if you're ever down here sometime. Because I sure as fuck won't be in Canada. I can tell you that much. It's warm.
Yeah, I'm a rain dog. I'm not a heat dog.
Yeah,
that's why I moved out west because I love the rain. I love the cool rain weather.
You're wearing a flannel shirt now, so it's got to be a little chilly.
It's a little chilly here. Yeah, it's I don't know. It's probably I'm a Celsius guy, so I'd say it's probably 11 degrees Celsius here.
It's funny.
Warmer now.
My buddy, the guy I told you who's Canadian, lives in San Diego now, he lived in Vancouver, and he'd always send me pictures in August. It'd be snowing.
No, it never snows in Vancouver in August.
That's what he showed. He sent me pictures. It was like 2 years in a row. He sent me the pictures, dude.
Well, maybe. Well, like literally, if you go here and see like a big move, you can't see out the window, I don't think. But like, there is a mountain range right there.
Okay.
So maybe on the top of the mountain, but in August, no. I've been up in the Northwest Territories in Nunavut, playing shows, and like, oh yeah, in August you might snow in August, but no, that's way further north. No, Vancouver's the it's the most moderate climate in the whole country. That's why it's the most expensive city in Canada to live in.
Yeah, he had said that. He had told me that. I remember. Yeah, well, it's hot and wet. Anything south of 60 degrees. What is 60 degrees for you? Is 60 degrees Fahrenheit.
It's like 22 or something like that, isn't it?
Yeah, 60 Fahrenheit to Celsius. Yeah, it's like 15 and a half. Anything south of 15 and a half Celsius, we're cold, man.
Oh, yeah. Well, that can be chilly.
It's just, well, I mean, it's just because we're living in Florida here. Hey, man, last question. Biggest change in your personality over the last 10 years, and how much of this change was deliberate and intentional, and how much is just a part of aging?
Well, my wife and I have been talking about having children for some time, and I was, I of course, I was like a cat to water.
Yeah.
And I was on a plane. I was going to tour Australia with a band, and I was flying. I left Christmas Eve to fly there because that's their festival season.
Mm-hmm.
Is our winter time
because it's summer there.
Yeah. So I flew and I landed on Boxing Day. So I missed Christmas entirely, which was fine for me. I've never been a big fan of Christmas.
So Boxing Day is the day after Christmas for everybody in America listening, because we don't have that here.
You don't have Boxing Day?
No, the only reason I know about it is because my wife's from the UK.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Okay. I did not know that. And I just I was on that trip, and that whole trip was fun, but it was a hard trip. And I just said, you know what? I think maybe it's time for me to not grow up, but just maybe a shift. It's time for a shift. Yeah. And that's when we decided to really start trying to have a baby. And that was a big difference for me. I haven't really changed that much. That was just I never thought I was responsible enough, and I still don't think I am. So we'll see. Man, we'll see how Eleanor turns out. But
every time, just so you know, every time I've talked to you, you talked about your daughter. Mm. That's a pretty good indication of where your priorities are at.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
when I met to get back to a previous conversation, I met, what was her name? It's not Betsy. It's something like that. I can't remember her name, but it was Cliff Gallop's daughter.
Oh, okay.
And she was at the show I did with, and she loved my band. She came up and talked to me for quite a long time. And she said, sometimes I feel really guilty that my dad didn't continue his career and he wanted to stay home because I came around. And I said, nah. And we had just had Eleanor at the time. I said, no, I can totally understand what your dad felt like at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. That does change things a lot. Yeah. But, I'm still a road dog, and I still love going on the road. So, and regardless of how tiring it is to have a 3-year-old, because, it's a lot of work and they have energy that you have had since you were 3.
Yeah.
So, it can wear you down, but it's a ton of fun, and it's amazing that when you walk into a room and she sees you from across the room and bolts across the room, Daddy. Although now when I pick her up at daycare, she looks and goes, Paul, and runs across me.
That's classic, man. You got to record that. That is amazing. That's hilarious. Yeah. Oh my God, that's great, man. I can't thank you enough for coming on the show. You're an awesome dude, man. You're very cool to hang out with, and you're a fantastic player. Let me tell everybody, please check out Paul Pigat and support him and his music. Again, first of all, let me just tell you some places you can go on YouTube and look up Paul Pigat. It's Pigat, and look up his name with the words Brody, another one with Spanish Banks, and then Gretsch 135th anniversary. And some ways you can support Paul. And if you're in China, which I don't know how many people we have in China, maybe there's one dude. Hey, so you in China, go check out Paul in November.
It's a big country, man.
It's a big country. Yeah. But it's worth going wherever he is. Go see him. Where are you going to be? Is it going to be on your website?
What I'll do is I'll probably put a link to the Michael Kaeshammer, his website on my website.
Yeah. Well, go see Paul in China, and even if you're not in China, man, go see Paul. What the hell? You need to go to China sometime. Might as well go and Paul.
I get around. I'll be in Germany right after that with the Sojourners.
I got people listening. Yeah, where are you going to be in Europe?
I think the tour is only Germany, and it's with the Sojourners. I usually go down to LA every January for NAMM, and we do a show with we do a bunch of shows when I'm down there. I play with a band called the Memphis Kings down there, and we'll be doing our 10th annual Kid Ramos birthday bash, which I'm a huge fan of Kid's playing, and I've been a fan of his playing for years, and it was a real big deal to get to know him and become friends with him. So
very cool.
We go drink tequila at his house and play blues guitar.
Dude, you're gonna enjoy that Añejo. Oh my God, it's really good. I mean, I'm not like a big drinker. I just like tequila and I like whiskey, and that's a good one. All right. So also check out Paul's website. It's paulpigat.com, PAULPIGAT.com. And his last album with Cousin Harley is called Blue Smoke. Check it out. It's available on Amazon, Spotify, and Apple and all the usual places. And Paul also does Skype lessons, and you can go to his website and just contact him through the form. That's the best way to get a hold of you in the contact. Yeah. And he will answer you, and just an amazing player, man. And that's it. Did I miss anything? Anything else going on in Paul world? Do you have any social media you want to promote?
I'm on Facebook, but I'm all full up on Facebook. and they won't let me take any more people.
Are you on Instagram?
I am on Instagram and Twitter and all that stuff. I'm going to try and get better at that stuff.
What's your Instagram?
I have no idea.
All right. Well, it's Paul Pigat. There's not going to be tons of Paul Pigats.
I'm only Paul Pigat.
Yeah, I'm so.
Pigat is a really rare name.
It is.
In North America. I came across one other Pigat. I had a guy come up to me at a gig recently. He says, "Your name Paul Pigat?" I said, "Yeah." He says, "My name's Matt Pigat." First of all, your name is Matt Pigat, so that's fucking awesome. And then I said, "Okay, so let me ask you, you're Italian, right?" He says, "Yeah." He says, "Your family's from about 2 or 3 hours away from Venice, right?" He says, "Yeah." "How did you know?" I said, "That's where the Pigats come from. That's the only part of the country the Pigats are in." That's
really cool. Were you related to him at all?
No, I actually ended up calling my father. He says, No, those are the other Pigats.
Oh man, your dad sounds like an awesome dude, man.
He's an
spaghetti.
Guy.
What did he call it? Spaghetti
stop a while to go.
Yeah, spaghetti stop a while to go. Why can't we all have simple names for things like that? You know, .com. It's just too long for the URL. Dude, man, I can't thank you enough for everything. You're just been a pleasure. It's been great talking with you.
I had a lot of fun.
I'm really glad, because I sure did too. Everybody, thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this, share it with your friends on social media. We certainly appreciate your support. Thanks again to Paul Pigat for spending time with us, and to Matt Pigat as well, if you're listening, just because. And please check out Paul's website and support him. He's just a tremendous, honestly, he's one of my favorite players I've had on the show. He's just a super talented guy. And when you're playing, man, you're 110%. You're in it, man. That's really rewarding to see, because you're having a lot of fun when you're doing it and you're putting off that energy, man. It's very cool. So, all righty, make sure you go to the homepage of everyonelovesguitar.com, sign up to get on our newsletter list. You get advance notice of guests coming on the show and the opportunity to ask them your own questions. And don't forget, this is important. Happiness is a choice, so choose wisely. Be nice, go play your guitar, and have fun. Till next time, peace and love, everybody. I'm out. We hope you enjoyed this show. If you did, subscribe to the Everyone Loves Guitar podcast, and you can do this online at everyonelovesguitar.com or on iTunes. And if you like the show, please leave us a 5-star positive review. The more 5-star reviews we get, the higher our show ranks, and higher rankings mean we get to continue speaking with cool, interesting guests on our show. We'll see you on the next episode, and until then, keep playing your guitar and have fun making music.